if I could have seen myself ending up as editor of the Times of London, I would have thought that would have been a great career. But I realized, while I was working as a journalist, I realized that I didn't love newspapers. I loved books, I loved novels. And I gradually came to think that my life should be in books, not newspapers. I was fortunate in that my early books got published. They didn't sell many copies, but instead of having a typescript and some rejection slips, I actually had a real book on my bookshelf, and I could say I wrote that, and at least a few people bought it and read it, and that encouraged me to try again. And of course I would get a small amount of money. I would get maybe £200, maybe £500 for writing a book, which was not much, but it was something. It was enough to make me think, if I try again, and if I really work hard on the next book, and if I really try, maybe the next book will be a big bestseller. And of course it took a long time, but eventually the next book was a big bestseller. I did something very unusual in Eye of the Needle. It's a thriller. It was my first successful book. It's a thriller. It's a spy thriller. And the hero of the story, who kills the spy, is a woman. Now, that was very unusual. In 1978, when that book was published, that was a new thing, to have a woman play, especially a young woman with a child, to play that role. So it was seen as new and different and very striking, but it seemed quite a natural thing to me, because, you know, attitudes had changed. My generation, attitudes were different. Nobody had the old attitudes anymore, and all the women I liked were all the new kind of woman who said, you know, I should earn the same money that you're earning because I'm doing the same work that you're doing, and that seemed right to us then. So, I mean, no great credit to us as a generation, because we just, you know, the women we liked, we men, were surrounded by all these women we liked, and they said, we're equal, aren't we? And we said, yes, obviously, and that was it. The idea for the Century trilogy really came to me after I'd written World Without End, and it was received so warmly by readers all over the world that I really thought I should be writing this type of book. And I did think, you know, can I do that? Have I got the ability to take such a complicated story and make it just easy reading? And at that point I thought, well, I don't know. I don't know if I can do that, but I'm going to try. And I did think, if the first book is not successful, I'll just announce Ken Follett has abandoned the trilogy and he's going to do something completely different. And that was my plan B. If everything went wrong and Fall of Giants really was not the book I hoped it would be, then I would announce I had abandoned the trilogy idea. But happily, everybody loved Fall of Giants, and so here we are with the second book in the trilogy on the bestseller list, and the third book fermenting in my head. Well, first of all, I've been to Berlin many times, and I have walked around Berlin, but it was different in the 1930s and 1940s. Streets were in different places, and all kinds of things were different. Fortunately, I'm now writing about a period where there are lots of photographs and beautiful collections of photographs published in books about the history of Berlin. So I have lots of pictures in my library of people drinking coffee in street cafes in Berlin in the 1930s and so on. So I can see the dresses that the women are wearing, the hats that the women are wearing. People wore hats. Everybody wore a hat in the 1930s. Now nobody wears a hat today. So if you want to say what a woman was looking like walking down Unter den Linden in 1933, then you have to say what hat she was wearing. So yes, all of that, I have to build on my own knowledge of the city by a lot of historical reference. I personally like unabridged audiobooks. I don't like the shortened versions so much. It goes, of course, much more slowly. But on the other hand, you concentrate. And so you really want, for an audiobook, you want the book to be really good. You want the kind of book where every sentence grips you. So I think that can be quite a challenge. But when it works, it's great, and you just have to make sure that you're watching the road as well as listening to the story, because you have to. But you know, driving on a motorway or something, sometimes you go 100 miles in a straight line, and so long as you don't go too fast, I think it's great to listen to a book. Every Monday night, I meet the band in a rehearsal studio in London, and from 7 o'clock till 11 o'clock we play the blues. And really that's what the band, there's no audience there, it's a soundproof room, and really that's what the band, that's the fun of it. We play music that we like, and actually the other guys in the band are pretty funny as well, they make me laugh. So we have a great time. We don't drink any booze, and we don't smoke any dope. We have a cup of tea. Halfway through at 9 o'clock, we have a cup of tea, and you know, we have been doing this for 20 years now, and we just love it. And then occasionally we play to an audience, maybe 4 or 5 times a year. I guess my perfect day begins with me at 7 o'clock sitting at my desk with a cup of tea, because you know that British people can't do anything without tea. And so I suppose that would be working all day at my desk, and then in the evening going to a restaurant with my wife Barbara and maybe 4 friends, and having dinner and really great wine. It's true. My life is full of perfect days.